Yo, what's up? Yep. Okay. Audio is working now. For some reason, my mic wasn't selected in OBS. Okay, so I want to talk about a few things. Today, I've got an itinerary list of topics I want to talk about. And first things first. Happy Friday. You made it to Friday, sailor. The Mr. Krabs meme. I've seen it. I've seen it like every Friday. I see it on Twitter where it's like it's the same picture of Mr. Krabs with like the SpongeBob music, and it says, "Congrats, sailor, you made it to Friday." but anyway, I wanted to pick up where I left off with the last one. I talked a lot about indie comics, specifically, ISOM, as well as Cyberfrog, and I can't remember the other one off the top of my head right now. But it was really good, and those three were doing really good. I forgot to mention two, and I'm not quite sure how much of an indie this first one is because it is Boom Studios. They've been around since 2005. I did some research on them actually today, confirmed that they've been around since like 2005, and they are a studio. They're not a small team working on like one project. They have multiple projects. But this is outside of the main two, which is Marvel and DC. It's also out of Image, which I would say is probably the third biggest comic industry. So when you look at this is Berserker. This is made by Keanu Reeves and a few others. I can't remember the name of, but yeah, I mean this is basically an independent comic book, and this has been very successful. This has sold over, I believe it's 1.6 or 1.65 million copies. Now that is including the freaking physical copy, the paperback copy, and then the digital copies as well. And I'm sure digital makes a tiny percentage of that, but that's insane. Like 1.6 million is insane. Like, I can't even imagine that. But the main thing with this is that I tried to find sales as well to go with it. I couldn't find the sales. I guess I'm just used to the freaking Rippaverse showing like their actual live sales data and stuff like that. But they did have the copy sold. And I guess if you look at, it's hard to tally it up because they do have three different methods of buying it. Like I said, digital, paperback, and comic. So I'm not entirely sure. Hold on, my dog has gotten a whole. No, no paper. English dog, no paper. Yes. It is. Now, I have foiled you. All right. Butterbean has lost the battle today. Isn't that right, Butterbean? Who lost you today? Anyway, focusing back on what I was talking about. Anyway, Berserker has been a huge success. There are a few issues in. Another one, Godslap. I don't know how I forgot this last time. This is Moist Critical's independent. This is truly independent. This is basically a mirror to the Rippaverse story. It's a YouTuber. He's got a pretty popular following, and he started a comic. and this is it. This is it basically. Now this is basically Godslap. This is the series. Its third volume just came out, I believe, fairly recently, this month. So you can check that out. It looks really good. I have not read it or anything, but I've heard great things about it. So I just wanted to bring that up. So something I want to also compare with these two is that obviously the prices are smaller, like $17 for a physical copy. This is sold out, by the way, but it's $17 for a copy of this I don't know how many pages exactly it has. I don't really see. Oh, 48 pages. 48 pages. So this is 48 pages for $17. I saw them in comparison as 96 pages for $35. If you double 17 and you get 34, which is about the same price. So this is like going, price for price, basically the same thing. You probably also have to pay shipping as well. So these books are on pretty much the same quality as far as the price point and everything. Now I don't know exactly the details of the materials that make the comic, but yeah, I mean this is a pretty on par, I guess, comparison with these two, and they're both both from different sides of the internet, different genres, I guess, of content and stuff like that, but there's one thing in common. They had a passion to create a series. They had an idea of how to create it, what they wanted to accomplish. Godslab, I guess, isn't as focused on, Bad Egg as the company is not as focused on revitalizing comics. I think they're more so just trying to have fun with it. Whereas Rippaverse is trying to change the way comics industry works. That's one of their goals. Their main goal is, of course, to prioritize the customers, but their other goal would be to change the way the system works, because obviously there's a lot of people who don't make a lot of money. I mean, look at the comics broke me trend that was going on Twitter. I think it was a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago now. It's a bunch of artists that were saying that they weren't getting paid and they're not getting paid enough to make ends meet, and that's terrible. So the idea of a new comics company coming in, paying their artists well, and sure, the book is more expensive. It's $35 for a 96-page comic. This is $17 for a 48-page comic. So, they're more expensive compared to Marvel and DC, but they are paying their artists, they're paying the marketing team, and everything else that has to go into it. And at the end of the day, they're very successful. Now, how much you could say rides off of the back of the fact that they were made by YouTubers, I'm sure that has a huge factor in it. I mean, they have a following already whenever they're promoting this stuff, and they got it by different ways. Eric July, Young Rippa 59, funny name, but he got his stuff by doing a lot of commentary about the state of several industries, games, comics, movies. He'd always do some kind of a review about the Marvel stuff, and that's where it got him to where he is today. Now, some of that was political, but not all of it was political. A lot of it was just looking at facts and numbers, from data sheets about the way things are selling and stuff like that, box offices. And compared to Moist Critical just does whatever he wants. So there's two different approaches to this. There's the business side of it from the Rippaverse, and the fun side from Bad Egg. Which I'm not saying that Bad Egg is not looking at this from a business standpoint. I'm just saying from outside looking in, it definitely seems to be more about just doing it for the sake of being fun, rather than doing a lot of focusing on profits and all that kind of stuff. Though they are making a good amount of money, make no mistake. So let's move on to the next topic here. I want to compare. I want to look at the writers and actors strike. Deadpool 3. Get out of the way, ad. Deadpool 3 has stopped production due to actors strike. Now, if you're wondering what's going on here, you're like, oh, well, can't Ryan Reynolds just, show up to show, just to do whatever he's doing? Well, they're in a union. And a union, basically, they have a specific set of rules that, everyone has to follow. And what a union basically is designed to do, they don't always do it, but what they're designed to do is to make it more fair across the board for different actors, make it more, I guess, more fair treatment. They get more opportunities for healthcare and stuff like that, and its intent is good. a lot of times there's some bad cases of unions not doing very well, being corrupt and whatnot. I mean, it's just like with any kind of business, there's always the corrupt ones, but there's also the good ones. And the idea with unions is to try and stop the corrupt ones from getting away with being corrupt. And again, human nature is to be greedy. And a lot of what ends up happening with some unions is they end up getting worse than if they just weren't in a union at all. But in this case, you got the actors union. Basically, they're saying, we're not getting proper treatment for the actors. Writers had the same thing. There's a writer strike still going on. It's been going on for about a month now, maybe more. And what they're basically saying is we're tired of getting used for less than what we earn you. We make more profit for you, and we're not seeing nearly a cent of it compared to what you're getting. Disney, Bob Iger, the what's his name, Zaslav from Warner. So there's I think there's a good reason to strike. I think there's plenty of good reasons to strike, and I think this is actually a very good strike. I think it's great. There's several things to look at this. First of all, you got the big CEOs that are saying, nah, we will. This is what they're saying. They will literally wait until everyone is broke and is desperate enough to sign any kind of deal and come crawling back. That is the type of evil and inconsiderate thinking that these companies have. Disney is soulless, completely soulless. No sense of childlike wonder that I have back. I was never that huge of a. I know a lot of people were, and the mysticism behind it is. There is nothing more soulless than the image of Mickey Mouse to a lot of people nowadays. The nostalgia has worn off. The rose-tinted glasses have become dirtied. So, there's. I feel bad for all the people who are, having to be without a job right now, that are not getting paid and probably won't get paid again the way things are going. But I will say this. This is not a time, if you are a writer, if you for whatever reason, or an actor, are watching this video, this stream, don't look at this as a time to just do nothing and wallow in sorrow about it. Look more at this as an opportunity to do your own thing. This is the best time for independent creators to make things. Why is that? Because Hollywood can't make things. Not to the scale that they have been. They have to slow down. They have to stop production on a major movie like Deadpool 3. That's the issue. The issue is that they cannot do anything because the actors under the union cannot do acting. They're not allowed to because they're on a strike. Writers, they can't do writing because the union is on strike. So you've got this perfect opportunity where Hollywood's not going to be able to do things. You can do things. Write that book. Draw that comic. Film that short film. Just do. If you have a creative passion, or if your friends, or if your colleagues that are also in the same careers as you, in the same artistic passions as you, get up with them. Group up, make this thing happen. I mean, if you look at something like Hazbin Hotel, which is great animation. I love the animation. I haven't watched anything since the first episode, so I can't say anything about the quality of the show. But I know that first episode, I was enjoying it. I thought it was really good because the fact that an independent group of just people who want to do art, who want to do voice acting, who want to do sound effects work, writing, all of it, all comes together to make this full-length animated pilot of a series that has gone on and has also produced Hell of a Boss, which I've also heard mixed things about. But still, it's the fact that it's independent people making what they want to make and making it look good. You can do that. You can do that. You just have to team up with people that you can trust, work on whatever you want to do. If you're a solo creator, I mean, I'm a solo creator. I make my books. The only thing that I haven't done completely by myself in some instances is art. Sometimes I have my friend Sixes help me with some of the art. and he does a fantastic job with it. That's just a prologue for Little Miss Steele. But the again, the idea is that you as an individual can write a book. You can publish it. You can put it out there on Tapas. You can put it out as your own thing, as a PDF you download, or you can look into having it printed, selling copies whenever you want. You don't need to go through the old ways anymore. You don't need to go through publishing. You don't need to go through freaking producers. You don't need Hollywood anymore. We can do our own things. And I think by showing the big companies like Marvel and DC that, you know, you got independent superheroes and stuff like that, independent superhero stories, independent comics. I think if we can force them to do better with characters because we scare them with how good things. I mean, look at ISOM. ISOM is a almost a actually over $5 million franchise now. Not really, but it's earned. You know what I mean? It's earned in its lifetime. It's earned $5 million. Over that, probably looking more towards 5.5 by the time the campaign wraps up. You've got stuff like Godslap, Berserker. These are alternatives to the big two, even the Image. If we can scare them into seeing how good, hush, baby. If we can scare them into thinking that they have to boost their quality because they're afraid of everyone else doing better than them, then that will force them to make better stories, make better movies, better comics, better cartoons, whatever. That's a win-win for everyone. The only people who lose in this situation, especially with the strike, I think are going to be the bad writers, artists, actors, whatever. The people who didn't have the talent enough to be in the positions they were, they're probably not going to get back. Especially with, Disney and all these companies, they're going to be dry on money because they're having to halt all their projects and stuff. That you're going to be looking at a bunch of production companies like Disney, like Warner, and you're going to see desperation. You're going to see them sell off assets. You're going to see them squeeze any penny they can out of anything. And that is going to hurt the people who aren't as talented. It's a competitive industry. Shut up! It's a competitive industry. And it's going to be even more competitive after this strike is over with. It's going to be insane. And I wish you the best of luck. But also I wish you to get better. Moving on. Mission Impossible freaking is insane. I love this movie. This is like, I haven't seen all the Mission Impossible movies. I know. I'm sorry. But man, was this movie good. I watched it with my dad, my brother yesterday. It doesn't feel like it's a movie that came out in current era, because current era action films have been boring, have been just same things over and over again. And sure, you can say, oh, they're in a car chase again. But the way they've executed everything in this movie is so good. The car chase scene is my favorite. Like, it's very rare that a chase scene is my favorite in any movie. This is, because of how creative and just fun it is. It's multi-layered. There's so much going on, but you can follow all of it clearly. The action is pretty clear for me to follow. And the acting is great as well. Not only that, but this movie has done the impossible for Hollywood to do nowadays, which is to write what I believe the perfect example of a strong female character in an action film or in any film. I'm not going to go into spoilers. I'm not going to go into too much spoilers. Anything I'm going to talk about you could get from the trailer. So I guess if anything, it's the mildest spoilers possible. If you don't want to watch the trailer, maybe skip this part. But yeah, I mean, Grace is, in my opinion, a perfect example of how to write a female action character. She is fun and genuinely funny at times. She is likable. She is flawed. She is respectful to her senior cast that have been in the series much longer than her. And to top it all off, it checks the box of a female character that's not even sexualized. Like there's not even like any kind of hint that she's like being she's not wearing scantily clad outfits, nothing super revealing or anything like that. I don't even think there's a perverted joke in there. I don't even remember a perverted joke about her. So, I mean, she is just like the perfect example of how to do it right. And I think especially if you compare it to like Indiana Jones, where Indy is just not the same character. He's not who fans wanted to see. And then, Helena is introduced as, oh, I'm better at everything than you, despite the fact that Indiana Jones has a ton of experience. Yes, he's old, but experience is going to trump a lot of things. And Helena is just written to just kind of undermine him a lot. And the same thing kind of goes to a lesser extent for like, Star Wars. Rey was like better at pretty much everything than Luke was. And Luke is nerfed. Like they nerfed Luke to make him seem so much, worse of a character. He's just a grumpy old man compared to what he's supposed to be, what he was at the end of the movie. You don't have this much of a character change off screen. You have to show why this character ends up this way. For a character so beloved as Luke Skywalker, you can't just do it off screen. You have to have development. And they just took the easy shortcut. I don't think you can get away with that with a character like Luke Skywalker, and I don't think you can get away with that for a character like Tom Cruise's character, Ethan Hunt, which they did not do. They did not make Tom Cruise look worse to make Grace look better. It's perfect. I can't believe it. I can't believe it sitting here now. This movie doesn't feel like it came out in current time. But man, is it so good. The plot as well. The plot is focused. I'm not going to go into detail. But the plot is focused on an AI that could destroy the world by how it controls like information, how it could hack into different government technologies and stuff like that. And it does not feel unrealistic at all. Like, in this day and age, this movie, I know this movie had to have been starting, writing and stuff 3 years ago, probably. So the fact that they wrote that then and now, in this day and age where AI is like the biggest buzzword in the history of buzzwords, like, I think it's so important that this story comes out now. And yes, can it be like annoying to see AI everywhere? Yes, I get that. Is it incredibly creative with the idea of an AI that could take over the world? No, it's not creative. It's been done before. I mean, look at Terminator, right? But the main thing is about like how it does it. It's not done in a way that's like over the top like Terminator is. Which nothing wrong with that for Terminator. That's fine. But it's focused on the fact that, AI can just completely replace everything. And that we cannot allow that to happen. Like, artists cannot be replaced by AI. We cannot allow that to happen. We cannot allow writing to be replaced by AI. The moment we do that, humanity loses its soul, and we might as well just die in a second flood. We might as well, because there would be nothing to fight for anymore. There's nothing to fight for if AI takes over everything. There is no point. But why hire an artist when you can just do it in AI with very little training and just get it done? What is the purpose? What is the drive to do anything? What is the drive to pursue art as a career? There is no drive. This is part of the reason why the actors and writers strike is happening right now. And I guarantee you there's going to be, in the future, I can guarantee this, there's going to be an artist strike or a VFX artist strike, video effects. That is coming next. That is probably coming next. Simply because they are probably the most at risk of getting replaced. They are going to be most at risk of getting replaced. And I think that is going to cause another strike. If VFX strike, we're looking at the end. We're looking at the end of any kind of productivity in Hollywood. And I hope it happens. I hope it happens. I want it to happen. I don't mind if new media gets shut down because I've got all of old media on, Netflix, HBO Max, Disney Plus. I can watch all the old stuff that I enjoy, and I can rewatch it and be fine with it. Now, not everyone's like that, but man, I can just enjoy whatever I want. I can sit back and watch the same old stuff over and over again. I'm fine with that because it's better than trying to watch the new crappy, just terrible movies that they come out with nowadays. I would much rather watch the old classics. I would rather go back and watch classics that I haven't seen yet. That's more worth my time. That's more worth my money. But yeah, so Grace, I think, is a fantastic character in this movie. This movie is doing well as well, 4.57 billion, and it's only been out for like a few days, right? So the budget. What was the budget for Mission Impossible? Oh, excuse me, that might not be the same thing. 7 box office. My mistake. That might be wrong. Apologize for that. 23.8 million in first 2 days. That's earns. Is that considering like how much is actually pulling in or how much it's grossing? Like actually profiting. Why is this so zoomed? Not seeing it. Well, it should be more than that. 90 million? Bruh. What's the budget? Now the budget, I've heard this movie had a little bit of production hell. Yeah, 291. That's a pretty expensive movie. But I think it could at least break even. I mean, with how good of a movie it is, I know it will at least break even. I'm expecting it to go beyond that. But this movie is pretty good. This movie is like, I would give it a 9.5 out of 10. It is so good. But you know what doesn't use AI? Little Miss Steele. You can read this absolutely for free. You don't even have to pay for tickets or anything. You just have to have an internet access and a browser to read Tapas. You don't even need a browser. You just need the app on your phone and you can read this. Little Miss Steele is a book written for fans of the 2000s, specifically 2000s cartoons. If you love the storytelling that kids' cartoons could come across and tell great stories, you will love this. You will love this story. It has a lot of callbacks to 2000s era technology, pop culture, and has a lot of the same writing styles and I guess similar character features that a lot of the 2000s and even 90s cartoons had back in the day when things were better. So if you missed the 2000s, here you go. Oh yeah, also I didn't have this pulled up, but I'll show you real quick. If I can find the flash drive, there it is. I'll show you some of the I've discovered how to do marketing. In case you haven't wondered, if you ever wondered how to do marketing, this is it. Okay, this is this is marketing right here. This is this is marketing. This is how you do it, ladies and gentlemen. This is what you do. So that's all I've got for that. Let's move on to the next and last topic. He struck again. The the fool can't stop making a fool of himself. He really just cannot. It's Dire Gentleman. So this time, again, I like to give this guy the benefit of a doubt. I like to watch his videos because I do think there's some good educational value to gain from some of his videos. But man, this one is not good. And apparently he's like, dwindled his audience down with how much of a arrogant ass he is. He's dwindled down his audience to not a whole lot of views for 6 hours. But yeah, so this video is called Villain Protagonist, and he's saying that it does not exist. There is no such thing as a villain protagonist. The term does not exist, is what he's saying. And he cites Harley Quinn, Joker, Walter White, Thanos, Um, and just I don't I don't even agree with a lot of these examples as villain protagonist. I think Joker is definitely the best example he cites, but he gets it completely wrong. Walter White is complicated because he starts as an anti-hero, becomes the villain, and then kind of redeems himself slightly at the end. So it's like it's kind of complicated for you to even label Walter White as a villain protagonist, but let me just explain what Sussy Gussie does not understand. There is a difference between the word villain and the word antagonist. An antagonist is an obstacle that stands in the protagonist's way. A villain is a evil character. A villain is someone who does evil things, often as the antagonist, but they are not the same. For instance, let's look at Joker, which he cites as an example of not a villain protagonist. So I want to point this out because Joker is the protagonist of a story, yes? Good. All right, you're following me. He is. He's the protagonist. It is his movie. So tell me, would you say the Joker's action of killing 3 dudes in a subway and then 2 other people later on, would you say that is labeling him the hero of the movie? No. Oh, would you label him the anti-hero? Oh, what he's doing has no good cause? Just bad. It's not bad means to make a good cause. It's just bad means for a bad cause? Huh. It's almost as if Joker is a villain and the protagonist. So this idiot can't figure it. This idiot can't get his head out of his own ass to figure out the simple definition of villain and protagonist. He even goes. What kills me is that he even goes over the definition of villain. Right? Let's look at this. A character in a story or play who opposes the hero. Okay, that's one definition. Second definition: a deliberate scoundrel or criminal. Joker is 100% a deliberate criminal. Even in this movie where they try to make you kind of sympathetic to him, like they explain why he's doing these things, and I'll get to that in a second. Number 3, one blamed for a particular evil or difficulty. So Joker fits 2 and 3 because he does evil things. He is blamed for the evil things, and he is deliberately a criminal. He does illegal things. He kills people. So let us examine this. He is a villain by definition, by the 2 definitions of villain out of 3. He qualifies as a villain. And yet he is the protagonist of the movie. It's so obvious that he's so like blindly stupid that he brings up the definition and tries to argue that it proves his point when it no doubtedly 100% proves that he's an idiot. It's an actual contradiction for him to bring this up, and yet he claims this as a supporting argument. What are you doing? Anyway, I can't help but laugh at this idiot because he just doesn't understand the points he's bringing up in his own video. He has to control. He could have went in, inspect element, and changed the villain definition, and people wouldn't have looked it up. People wouldn't have Googled the definition of villain. He could have done some misinformation, and he would have proved his point. But no, instead here he brings up the 2 other definitions of villain. Like, bro, what is wrong with you? A couple good comments I want to pull up. This guy, Bowser and Mario and Luigi. Bowser's Inside Story is a perfect example of a villain protagonist done right. He has always been the main baddie in Mario games, so there are times when the baddie becomes playable and even teamed up with Mario to face against a bigger threat himself, especially in RPG games. In Bowser's Inside Story, great game by the way, I love that game. He saved the day only because he wanted to get his castle back and get rid of another villain he faced, but still retaining his villain status and give him a personality that makes him come out of a shell. Mario movie reference probably. Anyway, that is basically a perfect example. Another perfect example, an odder one, but a perfect example of a villain protagonist. His motives are selfish. His motives are just so he can kidnap Peach and not the other guy. That is selfishly evil motivation. He is a villain, but he is also one of the three protagonists. So you can 100% do it, and I pointed it out in the comment, and apparently I've gotten interesting. I've gotten a reply. I didn't see this. This is 45 minutes ago. This is recent. I basically said the same thing I just said. I don't think Arthur Fleck is a good example of a villain and protagonist because a central part of a villainhood is, in my opinion, that the audience is intended to be against them, even when it's a sympathetic villain. Arthur Fleck is someone the audience is intended to root for. He also just does crappy things. Compare that to Humbert of Lolita the book, who is the protagonist, but is also every point is very obviously a manipulative, predatory child molester that the audience is supposed to be shocked and appalled by. Don't demonetize me for that. Okay, basically, like, I can see what he's saying. Like, a villain, you had to be against the villain. But again, you can understand the role of a villain. I mean, look at Thanos. Thanos is a villain. Like, what he does is evil, whether he believes it or not. What he does is evil. He is the villain of Infinity War and Endgame. But at the same time, he is made to be sympathetic. You're made to understand why he's doing the things he's doing. But never at any point does he stop being the villain. You could look at him as the protagonist of his own story, but this isn't his story. Infinity War and Endgame is not his story. It's the Avengers story. It's called Avengers Infinity War. They are, as a group, like a group protagonist. If I were to put like one of the Avengers as a protagonist, I guess I'd have to say Iron Man and Captain America. Like, one of those two, I feel like those would be the protagonists. More so Iron Man, because I think he gets a bit more. But, it's really, like, Thanos is the protagonist of his own story, but the Avengers movies are not his story. It's the Avengers story. So I don't think he works as a villain protagonist. I don't think he does. So, but yeah, there is just a difference between the words villain and protagonist. There is a difference. One, antagonist is an obstacle for the protagonist to have to overcome. A villain is a evil dude who does evil stuff, whether he thinks it's evil or not. I would say Megamind at the beginning of the movie is a villain protagonist, because the story is following him, but he is the main character. He's the protagonist. The antagonist is the hero, because who opposes the villain? The hero. So in this odd circumstance of Megamind, at least at the very beginning anyway, he is the protagonist. And he is evil. Anyway, that's all I've got. Butterbean is barking. So, hush! Let me let. Yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to say for this stream. I just wanted to cover those topics recently. I just want to, with this type of streaming, I want to kind of focus on media, creativity of it, the good, the bad, the success, the failure, what I think is doing really good, what I think is doing really bad, why I think that. And I also want to promote Little Miss Steel. You can read this absolutely for free. Not your tempo. You can try out Webtoon. Read Demonico. Full series is finished. Hybrid novel. You can check that out. And if that's not your taste, I got Symbiotic for you. You can read this. Oh, that's not the info page. That's the info page. You can read this. Two book series so far. There's a third one coming up that'll wrap up the trilogy. Get excited for that. But with all that being said, thanks so much for watching. If you want to watch more of my streams, make sure you follow me. So subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified whenever I stream next. Follow all my social medias. You can check out this link tree. I'll put that in the chat. go. You can follow that. Join all of my social medias. I don't have Thread linked here, but if you go on Instagram, you can click on my Threads account and you can follow me there as well. And yeah, that's basically all I've got for today. So thanks so much for watching. Until next time, enjoy your Friday. Watch Mission Impossible.